Hello, Reds. What a win that was then. Get in. It was definitely a get in moment to come back in that manner. 80 odd minutes there, we're 3-2 down. Then we're 3-3. Then we're 4-3. Fantastic to be in the ground, to be honest with you. It was just one of those brilliant moments where, football lifts you in life. I needed it. It gave me it. I was made up that it did. And yeah, absolutely fine. It was fucking freezing as well. Yeah. It was so cold. It was back to, I had my long johns on and my gloves on and my hat on and my hood up and all the rest of it. But there's nothing better to warm you up than 2 late goals like that and hugging your mates and all that kind of stuff, and then spill straight into the pub and have a nice celebratory pint. So yeah, Gareth Roberts, by the way, Paul Cope. This is our usual live at 5 show. Thanks everyone for joining us. Loads of comments there already. I'm going to mention as well that you can drop us super likes, I think they're called. Didn't even know it was a thing until last week when they all started dropping in. Someone sent us a load of rupees, didn't they, last week, which was nice.
Got excited for a second.
We got really excited, yeah, because was it 2,000 rupees?
£2,000, yeah.
£2,000, yeah. Someone lashed £2,000 in last week. It turned out was it about 20 quid, was it?
20 quid, yeah.
Which
is still lovely.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Absolutely appreciate it. And someone said there, I wonder if someone's going to have a go at that and put something witty in about it being live at 5-ish again. I don't think we've got that this time, but we did get a blurt early on in the comments, so let's give him a shout. God YMWA, who said crap video title, me no watch, and he says in fact you get a dislike before you start. I mean, like,
That's fucking harsh, that, isn't it?
What do you think?
Has he actually clicked dislike on the video because of that?
That's what he says. I mean, what do you think this helmet gets out of telling us that? Because the title, by the way, is Liverpool 4, Fulham 3. Factual. The comeback kings strike again. Well, we've had a few comebacks this season.
What does he want? What was he expecting?
And then it says the late challenge live at 5, which again is factual. So I don't really know what your beef is, God. What's your beef, God? Tell us, God. Bring it, God. In terms, super chats. Yeah, sorry, it's super chats, as everyone's pointing out in the chat. So if you want to, what did I say? Super like?
Super like.
Similar. If you want to send us a super chat, get involved, and we'd love to receive your super chat goodness. What did you make of the game then, mate?
We'd love to receive your super chat goodness. Yeah, boss. And one of the few moments actually that I miss being in the ground. Because it was funny the day before I drove past Anfield. Because I was heading up that way and...
didn't give me a knock, no?
I was just like, fucking hell. I can't think of anything worse. Going back to that, one of our clips from one of our early shows, talking about sitting outside in the cold.
Yeah.
As a proper old man. And I said to my girlfriend, like, as we drove past the ground, I was like, if someone paid me to go with the game now, I'd have to think about how much they were willing to pay me. And she was like, well, go on, how much would it be? And I went, honestly, for £1,000, I'd like... And as the words left me lips, I went, for £1,000, I'm not sure I'd want to sit in the cold like that. And she went, for £1,000, I'd make you go. Which I thought was a nice reply. And she was like, she was coming out and being an idiot. Because, of course, I would go for £1,000. But yeah, I was like, fucking hell, it's freezing. I do not want to sit outside. And then when I saw... When you see that comeback and you see that like outpouring, you just that's the moment you go to football matches for, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
That's it. Like, you sit through all the other shit for those moments, and it was just, yeah, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, you can give it all. It was only Fulham. You can give it should never have come to that and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we'll get into all that, can't we?
But yeah, I mean, my first thought when I came out the ground was, you see your mates, you meet by Shankly, you have a bit of a natter, and I was like, I'd 100% prefer us to win like that than it be like 1-0. And I mean for every aspect of it. So the enjoyment, which you just talked about, having those moments, which is brilliant. When we got it to 3-3, you knew. You know what I mean? We all ramped it up. We all ramped the noise up. The players ramped up the levels that they were playing at and the intensity of it. And you just knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. And then when it came, big, massive let off. Absolutely brilliant. I've got to make a little confession here. I've already lashed this on Twitter last night, but I stand next to me mate Gary, like, you know, one of my long-standing mates, like, and when Klopp brought Endo on, I went to Gary, oh, fucking hell, that'll do it. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, yeah.
Endo for Gravenberch is not the attacking sub you want.
Do you know what I mean? I just thought, I didn't get it. Do you know what I mean? Like, Gravenberch was struggling, like, and looked like he was gassed, like, but, you know, I just thought, well, like, you know, we need to win the game, and you're bringing on a defensive player, like, and then the next minute he's slotting an absolute beauty. I mean, I think Klopp himself said as well, like, I've never seen so many worldies in one game.
Yeah,
like they were all belter goals.
Well, even just from the first two, you're like, fucking hell, you don't often see
McAllister
goals like that back to back,
it?
do you?
Yeah.
And then when you see the ones that like win it for us, you're like, fucking hell. And it made me laugh when I saw your tweet because it just reminded me of like your famous ones that everyone must have one of these, mustn't they? At least one in their footy going career. I remember obviously quite young when this happened, but it was McManaman. I might have told this before a while ago, maybe on the wrap, but literally on the cop, I was stood up on the cop as he's like running outside the box, and like I stood up and like I actually shouted like, fucking take the ball off him, don't let him shoot. And as I shouted shoot, he hit it top corner. And you're like, then you're celebrating, people around you're like,
you know what you're saying, lads, yeah. I mean, it is a thing that football can make a mug out of you at times, can't it?
Like, I mean, but in fairness to you,
that's like, a good way.
I'm showing it at Steve McManaman. Endo, you're not expecting Endo to like bend one into the top bin with his side foot from outside the box, are you? What a goal that was.
It was a beauty, wasn't it? Like, all of them were beauties. And look, you know, I think in the conversation as well, you know, should give some credit to Fulham. I thought they played well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know, all the stats say that Liverpool should definitely have won it. Like, you know, 4-3, you know, suggests an incredibly close game and all the rest of it. But, you know, we'll quickly run through some of the stats. You know, Liverpool had 4 big chances. We missed all of them, which I think sort of, you know, the eye test said that as well. You know, like there's the one Mo misses, isn't there? Which, you know, you wouldn't expect that from Salah. There's you know, in the woodwork through Núñez as well, when he should definitely score. There was the other one where he did the mad thing with his feet.
Yeah.
Not really too sure what he was up to there. It's shit, isn't it, as well, by the way, that goal's being given as an own goal. Like, that's just like...
It's just the ball.
Football Grinchism.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like get on to our main TLC show later in the week, if you're watching this live or before Wednesday, because we talk more about, like, the people who run footy. And this is just another example of it, isn't it? Like, the people who run footy just being bellends. Like, not one person in the world wants that put down as an own goal, do they?
And like, it's an unbelievable free kick.
Yeah.
You know, like... so what if it's like gone in off his back or whatever? Like, just fuck off.
Yeah,
it's happened because it's an unbelievable free kick. Give him the goal, move on, stop being Blade, stop running it like you're like, you know, you're like dishing out parking tickets or something.
That's what it's like, isn't it? It's fucking the headmaster.
Like, yeah, it's just
what might have come out that? You go, fuck off.
Oh, hang on though. Yeah. But the McAllister one. That's like a proper...
I reckon he must
like
be
a Gerrard goal, that one.
I bet you... I reckon McAllister's a little bit gutted that his was the second of the 4, because then we had Endo's and Trent that win it. And you almost half forget McAllister's. McAllister's was unbelievable, wasn't it? One
of my things that I was fuming about in the ground during the game as well was that, you know, we scored 2 absolute belters, like, and then we give away 2 really bad goals.
Yeah, this is I mean, the bigger picture stuff, this is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got this stat about Keller that's doing the rounds, isn't it? That, like, as soon as I saw that, this is a mad reaction, isn't it? Like, the rest of football doesn't know. My first reaction was, shh, shut the fuck up. We're going to try and sell him soon. Like, like, you don't want people fucking seeing stats like this about him.
Oh, and shout out for Scouser Pete, who's thrown €2.49 in. On a super chat. Well in, Scouser.
Well in, mate. Yeah, like, so I can't find the stat now. Simon Brundish, Keller has conceded 26 goals.
Well, he updated it, didn't he? Because he was putting them in during the game. Yeah, so it's...
27 goals from an expected... I mean, this is
from an XG of 23.78.
To be fair, we'll do the context and all that, but it's not great on paper, is it? So he's conceded.
It's not great with your eyes.
He's conceded 27 goals from an XG of 22.8. He basically turns the opposition into Salah. That's, considering how highly we rate him, that's quite a surprising stat, isn't it? But let me do the. My brain's not working properly now. I'm trying to think of the right phrase, but it's not coming to me. The context of it is he generally plays when he's not having a run of games, doesn't he?
Yeah, so he's dropped him for League Cup, Europa League, whatever. So
it's probably unfair to label him with that, because I think
it looked, but I think, you know, all you can do is go and give an honest opinion on what you've seen at the match, and like, he's not great to my mind on two of the goals.
Yeah.
Even the other one, like, I mean, you know, that's probably more about the defence, and the lad gets to jump on Tsimikas, doesn't he? But he doesn't look great, and also, like, he scuffed a kick. It just looked like his head had gone. Do you know what I mean? Like, and look, that's perfectly, that can happen. That can happen to anyone.
Well, it happened to the best goalie in the world the week before.
Yeah,
didn't it?
Exactly.
It's like Alisson's game against City that he got injured in. It was just like, we're all like, well, fucking hell, mate, what's going on here?
Pulled a couple of saves out, didn't he? But it was very un-Alisson-like performance, it's fair to say. And, you know, at all levels, you see sportsmen and women, like, get the yips and all that. Like, we wouldn't know what the yips was if the yips wasn't a thing, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So hopefully, you know, fingers crossed that, you know, with him now, he's going to get a run regardless. You know, we're not going to go and put Adrian in goal or Atcheberg or something, are we? It's going to be him. He knows it's going to be him.
And he is a good goalie.
I'm sure he knows himself as well that, you know, he's not at the levels there, and so hopefully, you know, it improves as we go on. But I think I said it was literally on this show last week, wasn't it? Like I said about Liverpool, you know, turning negatives into positives on the regular this season, and, you know, I think it's 15 points now from losing positions, which is the best in the league. And like I said to you last week, didn't I? It really tests the glass half full, glass half empty thing. Yeah. Because, you know, you can look at the table and you can go, we're above Manchester City, we're in second place, we keep doing this. And you're like, it must, I mean, last night in the pub, what I was going to say before was like, I came out and I was like, imagine what it's like in the dressing room. They must be absolutely buzzing. They must be on top of the world. You know, we've won 11 out of 11 at home. Like, they must be going like, it's on, we can do it. And I'd like to think that's how it was. But equally, you know, I'm sure, like, you know, today or tomorrow or whatever, when they do like the analysis thing, you know, the coaching staff are going to be able to have a real go at them, aren't they? You know, they're going to have a go, at least they're having a go at them from a position of we won and we got 3 points, like.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they're going to be able to say, lads.
I've heard coaches say in the past, I'm not sure whether Klopp might have said this out loud, but I've heard coaches say in the past, it's almost your ideal way to win. Because if you notice, like, when a team wins like 7-0, the next game there's a dip in performance, because it's like, what have you got to say to your team other than just keep going? Whereas when you've won a game, but there's loads to talk about, your coaching's already set up for you. Do you know what I mean? You've got the stuff to work on. So you can go to them, congratulations, lads, and you can coach them from a position of positivity, even though there's stuff to work on. Whereas it's why I think Guardiola does that thing that we mentioned last week, where he's more critical of his team when they win than he is when they get beat or when they drop points. When they drop points, he tends to do the whole, they were brilliant. Because it's when they win, he's onto the pitch in their ears. Do you know what I mean? It's Rafa used to do it, remember? Like Torres would be, as like infamously said, like, I'd be on the pitch, I'd scored a hat-trick, and he'd be like, you should have scored 5. But that's what that was his principle, wasn't it? Like, if you've done well, I can coach you from there because it's easier.
I mean, you know, someone in the comments there, Ian, mate, says need to run just like Tsimikas.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I've just said Tsimikas got to out jump for that goal, but that aside, like, he's all right. He's better now, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like, he looked a bit rabbit in the headlights and looked like he was struggling poor against Everton. Obviously, made the error against Toulouse. But you know, the run has definitely seen him get better, hasn't it? And like now, he looks, you know, he was looking a bit liability, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But like now, you're like, oh no, he's doing all right
solid now.
Yeah. So, you know, he's not an issue.
And it's like you said last week as well. Like, I think we do just have to accept, and more of us need to bang on about this to get people to like soak it in, absorb it. Your second choice is not likely to be as good as your first choice in any position. It's different when you've got like a midfield group that you're sort of rotating around. But when it's your left back's one of the best left backs in the world, your backup's not going to be as good as him, and you've just got to accept that. So if the first guy's out, it's like Alisson.
Yeah.
It does. I think I put in a message to you after the game, like, the sad thing is this does happen to footballers. It used to happen to Wijnaldum all the time. People are like, what does Wijnaldum do? What does Wijnaldum do? What does Wijnaldum do? And then he'd be missing for a few games. You're like, oh yeah,
that's what
I can see what he does now.
Yeah.
And sadly, it just makes you appreciate Alisson even more, doesn't it? Makes you appreciate Robertson even more, because you see just how the reality is. We wouldn't have conceded 3 goals with Alisson in form in that game, would we?
No, exactly.
He'd have saved. And I often think this about goalies. Like, it's mad that we don't give goalies credit for saves in the same way that we give strikers credit for scoring. It just doesn't. It just never gets the same praise, does it? But the reality is, they're stopping this happening.
Alisson's unbelievable. Like, I think we all know that, don't we? I don't think there's a red out there that doesn't think he's unbelievable. And it's. It's not a nice job to play second fiddle to someone who's that good, is it? I always thought when you're stepping out of that shadow into the light, if you like, you're always going to struggle, because everyone's so used to watching Alisson week in, week out be brilliant that you almost take that for granted.
Yeah.
And then when he's come in, but regardless of that, I just think he is poor on a couple of the goals. He's poor with the scuff kick, and it did feel like it all got to him a little bit. But we've seen him have good games for Liverpool. I thought he was a little bit worrying in the Toulouse game at home, I think it was, where one of their lads ran through, and he just, to me, standing on the Kop, he just seemed to give him so much of the goals away, Matt. And I instantly did do the Alisson thing in my head, where I thought, well, he'd be out there, he'd be making that hard for him, you know what I mean? And
my only concern about that is, and look, there is this still, he's young and he's not getting a run of games, so we'll see what he's like after he's been in the team a few games. He's training with Alisson, so you would think he'd be like, if Alisson's the best in the world at that, you'd think the coaching staff and him would be going, I just need to copy what you do in that part of the game.
Though, don't they?
That is part of it.
Because with the best will in the world, like someone saying in the comments, do we think we'd see Adrian? Hopefully not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With every respect or whatever, but I think Kelleher's clearly the number 2.
Well, I was thinking this, but we might see him in the Europa League game, might we? Do you like when City throw in Scott Carson? I love when that happens.
I hope not.
And you're like, what?
I don't think he's registered anyway. I don't think he's registered for Europe. No, it's the young lad for Europe. I can't remember his name now, but he's down as being the second keeper. So I think we won't see that. Michaela Perkins, thank you for your £1.15 super chat there.
Well, Michaela.
We also, I was going to run through some of the stats, wasn't I? 26 shots Liverpool had to Fulham's 9, 12 on target to Fulham's 5, 61% possession, 15 shots from Liverpool inside the box, 7 inside the box for Fulham. And as I say, the stats in general point to the fact that, Liverpool did dominate the game, should have won the game comfortably. They made it hard for themselves. They kept letting Fulham back into it. A stat there from Opta Joe. Fulham went 3-2 ahead through Bobby de Cordova-Reid in the 80th minute. The latest Liverpool have ever fallen behind in a Premier League match that they then went on to win. And I think the faces of the players, the celebration from Trent, how much the ground went off, we know that. Do you know what I mean? We felt that. And I was surprised today. Like, when I did my regular thing that I always do, went and had a look at the title odds. And Liverpool have actually slipped. Like, we're third favourites now. Where we were running sort of side by side with Arsenal as second favourites, but now we've comfortably slipped to third. So for whatever reason, it might be, that suggests to me that the wider world at least is saying it's not sustainable what Liverpool are doing here, and they're going to, and maybe people are looking at the injuries now as well. Alisson out, Robertson out, Matip now out as well with a knee injury. I know we've got Konate, and I know we've got Gomez, and I know we've got Kwanzaa and stuff like that. But Matip, as we discussed last week, had been playing really well, and that's a great shame that he's now on the injured list.
Yeah, well, I literally just brought up the BBC website to have a look at Arsenal from the weekend, and it looks like Sheffield United are about to sack their manager.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Interestingly. And you predicted that, didn't you? Our predictions at the start of the
Yeah,
season,
yeah.
You said him. And he's done well, in fairness. Like,
to last this long.
Like, it's quite.
So now we'll get a new manager bounce on Wednesday then.
But they might not have someone in by then, might they?
Well, I think they're going to get Wilder back, aren't they?
Oh, are they? Is that the plan?
He lives round the corner, doesn't he? I think so. Just give him a bell. Just get the bus into training tomorrow.
Yeah. So I think there's partly in the thing. So Arsenal beat Wolves 2-1, didn't they? But they were 2-0 up. Wolves scored in the 86th minute. I think there's an element here with the bookies. Arsenal are doing that thing I think we did when we won the league, and they've been criticised for it early in the season, but they're top of the league. They've gone more solid. They've gone less free-flowing and creative. And they're being criticised for that. And it's funny because it's the same with us. Whether or not what's happening now is good or bad depends on what happens next. Like, if Arsenal use what they're doing now to build into the season, then Arteta's learned from last season and he's grown. But if what happens next is their lack of creativity and attacking flair leads to goals drying up, then it's gone wrong. Same with us. This looks good at the moment because we're winning, but we're conceding a lot of goals. We're having to make a lot of comebacks. If you then tighten up the defence, then it looks like, we just got through this patch.
The defence have been all right though, hasn't it? We were talking about that last week.
I was thinking about that before.
When you took the Spurs goals out, you let it go. It was the best defence in the league last week.
Yeah.
So, we've conceded 3 this week, obviously with a different goalie and one of our centre-halves now injured. But yeah, we just got to sort of get through this patch, haven't we, really? And, Sheffield United, like I say, on Wednesday night. A few more super chats as well. Just mention these. Paul Fitzsimons, mate, long-term supporter of the show.
Thank you, mate.
He's thrown a $5 in. He says yesterday reminded him of the Villa game away when we were on our way to winning the league. I was at that one, and I know what he means by that as well. Like that's what I was coming out feeling. I was like, that feeling will be permeating the group, the players, the fans, where you're just like, could just be one of them. Do you know what I mean? It could, no one, I don't think anyone said at the start of the season there was a chance. And now it's like, it is the old Dumber and Dumber.
I was just thinking that.
Are you saying there's a chance? So, there is a chance, and while there's a chance.
We play Arsenal in 3 weeks, don't we?
Yeah.
So that's huge
Anfield,
now.
Yeah. So one to look forward to. Matthew Walls as well, 199 there, super chat. Get in, lads. Thank you, mate. Keep the comments coming in. I'm trying to read them as I talk. I'm trying to keep on going. Yeah, we've got R12 away this weekend as well. Crystal Palace, which looks a bit sticky.
Is that Saturday?
Yeah. So, these 2 games, 2 aways to teams you should beat, but teams where you think, is that trickier now that they've sacked the manager? Is that tricky because it's R12 again? Do you know what I mean? There are these things. In terms of those goals, by the way, I saw one from a tweet from Andrew Beasley. Trent's brilliant free kick. Own goal, my ass. 28 yards. McAllister's beauty, 27 yards. Endo, 22 yards. Trent's was 18 yards. And Fulham's 3 goals combined, 16 yards. They just wear belters though, weren't they? And it was a fantastic sort of afternoon. And I'm glad that the belters all got to mean something as well.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than a forgotten goal, is there, where it didn't mean, you think about Sturridge's in the Europa League final. Yeah. Quality goal. But, or Benteke's at Old Trafford. That came up the other week because of the Garnacho overhead.
Yeah.
But a game where you lose, you're not really, you don't look at the goal in the same way.
No, you don't remember them the part of that as well is if you win a game with belters like that, with 4 worldies, but you didn't create anything else, you can be a bit worried, can't you? Because it's like, we're not creating anything. Take the worldies away and we're not actually creating chances. But the reality is, I think you said in the stats before, we missed 4 big chances. We should have scored 3 or 4 goals just from normal play without the worldies. that takes away that concern for me anyway, because Joe, coming up against Sheffield United and Palace, the reality is going into those games, go back to the Ferguson days, these are the games we should be going to. Klopp should be saying to the players, you're well better than these. Go out and beat them. Go out and beat them convincingly. My only concern is, I think this came up when you did the Anfield wrap last week. Neil saying something, I don't know, I was on that show, a different one. Like what you really want to do is stop giving any of these teams hope. So that, because what you don't want is Sheffield United and Palace thinking they can get at us. And by Fulham scoring 3 against us from a combined total of 16 yards, that gives other teams encouragement. So we could do with going to Sheffield United and doing them in.
Well, Fulham are definitely better than them, though. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
like
100%.
you know, like there were some good performances there, I thought, from them. You know, the lads at fullback was impressive. Iwobi, I thought, had a decent game for them as well. So, you know, they caused us problems, and Sheffield United, and, you know, I don't want to touch wood and all that, and I'm not trying to sort of tempt fate, but we should have far too much for them, surely. Adam Hetherington has dropped to 10 quid there, or 10 euros.
Thanks, mate.
He says, meant to send crispy bits by Keogh's Crisps, but kept forgetting. It's a load of crushed crisps made by a production lad who was annoyed at the waste. I thought Kopi's business brain would love it. YNWA. Into that?
Who was it we were talking about? Craig?
I was just about to say Craig Hannon at the Anfield Wrap would love them, because that's how he eats crisps. That's literally how he eats them. He gets a packet of crisps, crushes them, and pours them in all the bits into his mouth. So
downs them.
Yeah, he'd be into crispy bits then, wouldn't he, Ard Hannon? Okay. I mean, what the other thing as well is the context of yesterday. So, you know, me and Phil had a good bevy there post-match, it's fair to say, because not only did you come out bouncing from the fact that, you know, Liverpool won 4-3 and won it so late, you know, you then walk into the pub, Spurs and City are on there, and then that goes our way as well. Do you know what I mean? Because it was funny, we bumped into, for people who watch and listen to the rap, you'll know who I mean, Damien Cavanagh, top fella, bumped into him in the pub, and he was watching us watching the match, and he was like, just don't do it to yourselves, lads. Do you know what I mean? You've had a nice afternoon at the football. Just don't watch City. Don't put yourself through it.
Yeah.
You know they'll win.
Yeah.
And obviously we did put ourselves through it. They didn't win, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
So, you know, how mad they ended up going at the referee. And someone's put there, I haven't actually done the maths on this one, so I'm going to have to take their word on it. But someone's put that there only on course for like 80 odd points here, as they're currently going, City, which is interesting, because again, that then feels like that's potentially giving us a chance. Do you know what I mean? We don't, if we don't have to go at 99, 100 points to win it this year, it's more likely to happen, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they're on 30 now, or 14 games. I'm not going to do that. I was going to get me calculator, and I was like, we'll take your word for it, mate.
We'll just take your word for it.
But yeah, that is a big deal, isn't it? And the reality is they are wobbling. I think that's 3 games on the bounce they've drawn, isn't it? And it's that thing as well. If they're not, we've seen this in the past, and we've said it in the past. When a side gets that aura about it that it's invincible, it beats teams before it turns up. We've had that under Klopp when we became that good, that you could see teams turn up thinking, we just don't want to get beat 5-0. So if you're beating them 2-0, it's like, yes, sound. That's been City for ages. They're having that problem now that teams are looking at them going, oh, we can get at them. And there are more and more teams saying, fuck it, we'll just have a go at you then, because we can score. And it is, if you're a City fan or Guardiola, you would be like a bit perplexed, wouldn't you? Like, they're conceding a lot of goals, and yet they're more defensively structured than ever. Like, they literally bought a £70 million another defender in the summer and are playing him left back. So I was laughing to myself about this last week, how everyone says Guardiola's the fucking guru everyone follows. But fucking Tony Pulis was playing 4 centre-backs 20 years ago. He's Guardiola's inspiration on the sly.
Another one from Andrew Beasley, bass tune to Red. If you want to go and follow him on Twitter, a good one to follow. He says, in the first 7 seasons under Pep, City dropped points in an average of 3.6 games in which they led. It's happened in the last 3 matches. So loving all that. And yeah, I mean, bringing it back to us, because I can't be bothered talking about the cheats. 11 wins out of 11 at home. No top flight teams won more points from losing positions, as I mentioned before. 15. And yet, like we said, Klopp gets to have a go at them. He says, I told the boys it turned out as the game we saw, because they were a bit dumb. I was turning to my mate in the game saying, I can't believe that, we've been so good at home. The last time we were beaten at home in the league is Leeds, October 2022. We did the stats the other week about sort of how you can widen that out, and like they've been fantastic at home for years now, basically. And I was like, I can't believe that Leeds beat us, and now it looks like Fulham are going to beat us. So made up that we managed to keep hold of that record. 2 goals in 79 seconds. We've got to talk specifically, haven't we, about Trent, because obviously Trent wins it. Trent scores 2 great goals. Trent moved into midfield, break glass, put Trent in midfield, Joe Gomez on at right back, and it works. So of course, this then brings the debate back to, again, should we just be playing him in fucking midfield then?
Yeah, and you know what? Like earlier in the season and the end of last season, I was like, I don't understand why he's not just moved into midfield now. And it's funny, I've sort of changed slightly on it, because I think in certain games, and by that I mean home games against the bottom half of the table, by playing him right back, you actually have more attacking players on the pitch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you've still got your 3 midfielders.
And that will be the thinking, I think.
And I think that, so, because basically think about it like just number of players on the pitch, right? Forget positions. If you've got Trent playing right back, then you can play Trent, McAllister, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch in the same team. If you move Trent into midfield,
you got to drop one of them.
Then you drop one of them for Gomez.
Yeah.
So you've got less attacking ability on the pitch.
Yeah.
So I do understand more, probably, I've got more sympathy for playing him at right back than I did at the end of last season. The flip side of that is, I'm not sure how long you can keep playing someone with his ability and giving him any sort of right back responsibilities. That's my issue with it, I think. Like, I'd almost rather say, well, using that example I just used, we'll let Gravenberch do the right back bit then, because he's better. Trent's better than Gravenberch. Trent's, we kept using this phrase about Bellingham when we wanted to sign Bellingham, that he's a generational talent. We've got one.
Yeah, 100%. And also, look, if at some point it works for us to do it, then we can do it, can't we? You look at how many times, Gerrard was moved around in his Liverpool career.
Yeah.
Started off playing right back.
Yeah.
Then into midfield, then onto the wing.
Yeah.
Didn't like playing on the wing, but ended up player of the season playing on the wing. Then he's in behind Torres, and we have that link up, that period. Then he goes backwards again when he's getting a bit older. And look, I'm all right with it. I've got to be honest with you. I mean, I know you have to have the debate because it's literally a debate show. Edward Joseph has thrown in, I think it's these rupee fellas again. He's thrown in 1,000 this week. Thanks very much, mate. He says, in one match, we got 4 goals for the video. Amazing goals scored under Klopp. I attribute the goals conceded, I presume he means here, to Matip having an off game, the goalie's first start, and mainly Fulham were relentless. Kudos to them. Hope Sheffield United away is straightforward. You and me both, mate. I imagine it's going to be absolutely freezing there again.
Yeah, well, my only concern with Sheffield United now is they were awful at the weekend, apparently, weren't they? And so there's going to be some reaction, and they're home, and it's a night game. So they're your downsides. Your upsides are, they're shit.
Yeah.
And I do think you've just got to, sometimes you've just got to boil it down to this stuff, haven't you? And be like, get through that first half an hour where they're going to be throwing everything at you. And I know this is it's the easy thing to say, isn't it? Take your chances. But the reality is, Nunes is due a goal. Salah's due a goal now. It's funny when you score 4 at home and your strikers don't score. Yeah. Because the weeks before, we're having games where every striker scores. And they won't be happy with that. Nunes isn't going to be happy he didn't score that chance. Salah was never happy when he hasn't scored the goal fully. So you'd like to think we've just got too much for Sheffield United.
It's mad that like Salah's sort of like spawned his. He's managed to keep that run going, hasn't he, of either scoring or assisting? Is it what they call it these days? A goal contribution. He's managed to keep that run going because he tees up Endo.
I know,
doesn't
we
he?
talked about that the other week, didn't we? Like,
like who gets the assist from McAllister's?
Yeah, that's it. Someone gets an assist from McAllister's goal,
which is bollocks,
which is just
isn't
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I could get that assist.
Yeah,
lad.
Tonk that.
Just knock that in the top bin from there for me.
Coming back to Trent, his development is crazy, said Klopp. Today he was a real leader on the pitch, and that's probably the biggest improvement if you want. He obviously used him there in midfield against Bournemouth in the League Cup as well. First time he's got goals in back-to-back Premier League games as well.
Would you move him?
Like I say, I agree with your argument, and I also think it makes it difficult. Like, you know, out of those players you mentioned, like, who are you suddenly going to say to? Like, I know you signed for us thinking you're going to play regularly in midfield, but by the way, we just got to stick Trent there now. So, you know, in a bit, like, I think maybe what we might see is that he starts doing this more because it's literally just worked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get what he's saying there about the sort of the leadership thing. Like, that was like the Gerrard-esque, like, take the game by the scruff of the neck and go and win it type thing, wasn't
definitely.
it?
Well, I think something that we don't really talk about with Trent. I'm not sure I've ever heard anyone say this about him. When you think about, you said Gravenberch looked knackered when he came off. McAllister, like Klopp even mentioned post-match.
Had his worst game as well, didn't he?
Looked tired.
Yeah.
Trent's got an engine on him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he's been playing the almost right wing back role for us, like Robertson, for years. Like, he can clearly put in a shift. So I think you've probably nailed it. Like, I think we'll probably see that from now on, like a bit of, if we need him moving into midfield, and one of the lads who hasn't quite got that engine for the last 20 minutes of the game, making way.
And Gomez did well, I thought. You know, he was like, the substitutions were good, despite me and on the cop moaning about Endo coming on. Endo come on, scored, and then was doing his little terrier act everywhere, wasn't he? Which was fantastic.
Which is great. But then look, I can't not say this on this show after all the stick I got earlier in the season when I was talking about the defence. But
you're getting like tweets and everything, aren't you? I seen one of them dropping the other day.
And like, this is exactly what I was saying. Like, Joel Matip was going to get injured, probably, wasn't he? Like, that isn't me being like a pessimist. That isn't me being a downer. That's just me looking at the history of his career with us and saying history is likely to predict what happens next.
Yeah. Like,
it's likely that Canate will get injured. It's likely that Gomez will get injured. That was without even thinking Robertson would get injured, and he got injured then. Now all of a sudden you're going into
across the league as well. There's a lot of injuries, isn't there, at the moment?
Yeah.
There's a bit of a mad thing broken out in the comments.
Is it a scrap?
Not a scrap. Just like they're all having a bit of a game in there. Like, I'm trying to find the original post now. Oh yeah, George Singer says, "We will eat Sheffield United. We'll eat them." And then people have started replying to that. So Ian's replied with, "I'd rather eat a West Ham burger." And then also some Tottenham Hotspur ribs. So yeah, I'm into this. So if we
this is right down your street.
Yeah, 100%. So we can keep that going. I'll keep on reading them out. Yeah, so Endo certainly gave me the stun in terms of me, you know, downplaying what his potential contribution was going to be. We've said already that the midfield didn't function, bad games all round. Nunes as well. I mean, I wrote a big piece defending Nunes in the week, and then of course he goes and adds to the stuff for his detractors. Like, I mean, he's sort of rounding about and he's causing a nuisance for himself. And like, Phil was saying earlier on when we were watching some of the highlights back this morning, he was saying, well, he's almost like assisting the assist, I think, or if you like, on one of the goals. Like, he's making a nuisance of himself. That was sort of one of my arguments I made in the piece as well. Like, we know he links well with Mo, and we also know he's a handful. But the concentration is always on what's the most negative thing you can say about anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I heard Steve Warnock yesterday, when I was walking up to the ground, he was on 5 Live, and he was talking about how in Trent, Liverpool have got an unbelievable talent. Like, what a player. Look at what he's won already at his age. He's playing for England as well. He's a superb passer of the ball. He can finish. He can score free kicks, etc., etc. And yet all you ever hear, it seems, is he can't defend. He got dribbled past this many times. He's not this and he's not that. And, like, the analysis is so often negative. In general, not just about Trent. And, like, that's what Steve was saying. And he said, I don't know if it's exclusive to this country, but, like, we're so negative about our footballers, and it gets concentrated on so much. So I messaged him. I just said, like, well, on that, because that really annoys me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how are we talking about, what he can't do? What about what he can do? What about what he's brilliant at? What about the fact that, seemingly you all know what he's going to do? All the other managers know he plays this hybrid role. He steps into midfield, blah, 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 blah. Stop him then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And look, same point. If you played Kevin De Bruyne right back for City, guess what? Some people would dribble past him.
Yeah.
Would you then focus on...
Someone did make the point on that 5 Live debate exactly that. They said you wouldn't see Kevin De Bruyne at right back, would you? Because he's in midfield, because we know he's that good in midfield. So why isn't Trent?
That was my argument last year. Like, when someone is that good, you just need to take away that responsibility to, like, you build your side around them, basically. If we'd have bought Jude Bellingham, we'd want the side built around him. Ancelotti's basically building that Madrid around him, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a coincidence that he's scoring all these goals and getting all these assists. He's done with Bellingham what Benitez eventually did with Gerrard. Benitez just took a couple of seasons, maybe 3 seasons, to say, where can I get the most out of this lad that he gives me the most on the pitch? And what he came to was take away defensive responsibility from him, play him as a 10.
Yeah.
Because if I play him, he wants to play centre mid, and I don't care. Because if he plays centre mid, he's got to track back, and I don't want him to.
I'd love to see something like that. It'd be really interesting to see. I mean, I don't know when you would really say there's an opportunity to do it, because the games that, if we're all being honest, Liverpool care less about, he's probably not playing in them anyway. Do you know what I mean? So, like, if it's like an easy FA Cup tie on paper, and he's playing some of the lads like in the squad, if you like, well, Trent's not going to be playing anyway. But that could be an opportunity where you can put him at 10 or something and just see what happens. Like, just throw a mad one in.
But, so this is something like to keep us all going, right? Because we've talked about this, and I keep threatening to put in one of our shows, general shows, like, who could be the next Liverpool manager when Klopp eventually decides to go. And when Klopp decides to go at some point, because it will happen at some point, that will be a sad day for Liverpool. But something to look forward to, I think, if this hasn't changed by then. It would be interesting to see who comes in next and what they do with Trent. Because imagine, like, let's say hypothetically, right, Xabi Alonso continues on his current trajectory, and when Klopp goes, it's just a dead natural progression. I'm sure we'd all be very happy with that. Alonso's won the Bundesliga with Leverkusen. He's done unbelievably well. He wants to come to us. We get Xabi back. He becomes our manager, and the first thing he does is make Trent a 10. Like, that would be something to fucking excite everyone, wouldn't it? And, like, see what's going on.
If you was wondering what I was chuckling at, we got a suggestion in the comments that you wouldn't want to eat Arsenal.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what we got coming up, we got Arsenal obviously as well in the FA Cup. Yet again, our skill for drawing Premier League sides in cup draws has come to haunt us once again. It's a bit of a shame that, isn't it, really, in a way, in that, you've got to go and play your best side and all that kind of stuff. No opportunity to sort of rotate there, really. And you're not playing, like, I don't know, Stoke and Bradley or whoever, you know what I mean, in that type of match, you've got to go toe to toe when you draw a Premier League side.
And look, traditionally that's not a great weekend. That's where that weekend I would usually be over in Dublin with my mates in the past when I used to go out bevying, and it was often shit. Like that round of the FA Cup was often shit. So maybe it'll do us a favour, but it just depends, doesn't it? The problem you've got is we're already picking up injuries. We're about to go into the toughest part of the season for fixture wise. So who knows? By the time we get there, we might be having forced to play a few of the B team. I know there isn't. Klopp would never say there is a B team, but there is. So who knows? But there's blessings in all of this, isn't it? Depending on which way you look at everything. If we get knocked out the FA Cup, but we're still flying in the league and we're flying in the Europa League, I think this season, is anyone going to be that arsed?
Well, Ollie 5 times, who's dropped us a fiver, cheers, lid. He says we've only really got 2 tricky aways in 2024. If we get to December and the goalie issue, I think the season comes down to Arsenal in February or City in March. I mean, we have, that's the thing we've already talked about before repeatedly, isn't it? That we've got a lot of these tough ones out the way. They're done and we're up there. They're played and we are right up at the top of the league. So that is positive. And when you look at this,
bear in mind, City have dropped points at home to Spurs.
Yeah.
So they've got a tougher second half of the season fixture list.
And they've got to come to Anfield, obviously. Yeah. And I'd love it if we beat them. Next match, Sheffield United. Sheffield United 11-1 to win that one. It's 13-2 for the draw, and Liverpool are 5-1 on to win that one. Followed by Crystal Palace, which has at times been a difficult place to go. But Crystal Palace 4-1 for that one. Liverpool odds on again to win that. Then we've got the game at Union in Austria. That's the 14th of December. Then a run of 3 home fixtures: Liverpool against Man United, Liverpool against West Ham, and then Liverpool v Arsenal on the 23rd of December, followed by Burnley away, then Newcastle at home on the 1st of January, Arsenal on the 6th of January in the FA Cup, and then Bournemouth away on the 21st of January. It is a favourable looking run, isn't it? You'd be worried if, some of these fixtures, some of the tougher fixtures were coming up and you haven't got your keeper and you haven't got Robertson and you haven't got Matip and etc. You haven't got Jota is another one as well.
Yeah.
But it does seem to have, it's never nice to lose players, but it does seem to have fell at a favourable time, doesn't it?
Well, also because we've already topped the group in the Europa League, that's massive. I was just looking then. So the week before we play Man United, we're away to Union Saint Gilloise, or however you say their name. And we'll be able to literally not send players to that trip, won't we?
Yeah.
There'll be players who just don't travel and get a proper rest. So we'll have a full... We play Palace away on Saturday the 9th and then United at home on the 17th. So we've got a full 8 days preparation there for United.
Because of the dead rubber, yeah.
Because of the dead rubber. And I mean, obviously they've still got to prepare for it and stuff, but I'm sure there are ways around that. And with United the way they are, when we were looking at this and we saw the Alisson injury, you're like, ideally you want Alisson back for that game. Would you still be confident you can be Man United like they are without Alisson? I would be.
Yeah.
So
the bad away from home, the bad anyway.
Yeah. The bad against the top 10.
They've got all kinds of players that should be nowhere near the club, if you ask me. There's a big question mark over the manager. Like I seen, I reference him a lot because he just pops up on my Twitter timeline, so it's one of them, isn't it? Steve Armstrong, who used to go home and away watching United, and I saw him tweet post their game at the weekend, the defeat to Newcastle, and he said this manager just can't set them up away from home. Like he's just, it's not happening. Do you know what I mean? And obviously that was I'm going to use it again. I've used it on here, but that was music to my eyes. We just got a tenner off Kurt. Thank you, mate. He says, nice I love the show every week, lads. Get yourselves a pint on me. think I might have had a few of them over the last few days, and maybe I'll swerve one tonight. But thank you, Kurt. I appreciate that, mate. We're getting lots of really bad food things. None of them I'm going to really sort of read out because I don't mind that one. Fulham egg and chips. Bad, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, I can read it out at least. Some of the other ones have gone into a bit of a wild direction, but that one was from Ian Matthews. Project 5 AM, they're saying United fans are fearing the Liverpool fixtures, and I think they will be, won't they? You know, we've been tonking them on the regular in recent times. Obviously, 7-0, which is going to live with me for a lifetime. It's framed. It's above it's on the fireplace, the scoreboard. Yeah. 7-0.
And look, the reality is, 7-0. And look, you could see it in, as I mentioned on a previous show, watching Gary Neville's podcast on the way in, and you could hear it in his voice. They'll be coming into that game thinking it could be 7 again. Because we'll want to fucking go at them. We want to fucking rip them apart in this run. Because that game starts a run home to West Ham, home to Arsenal. We want to, I mean, go back to Sheffield United. We said this last week.
We should go for 8 this time.
Yeah. But do you know what? Why not? When you look at them against Newcastle, and everyone said the same thing, the scoreline flattered them. They got beat 1-0 by a Newcastle side that's down to its bare bones squad depth and had been away at PSG in the week. And they got absolutely fucking annihilated. And what changes? Do you know, when I know they've got a few injuries. I don't know when those lads are due back, but who's the big difference maker that's going to come back in? Martinez. Like, is he going to make that big a difference to what's going on? Maybe. Yeah, he's that type of character. But that could be in the middle of us. This run for us, I think for us to win the league, this needs to be a run now where we win game after game after game.
Yeah.
Joe, it's an 8-game winning streak.
Yeah, that's what we need to lay down now, isn't it? Because, you know, you look at that table, Arsenal top 33 points, played 14, Liverpool played 14, 31 points. But, you know, already 4 draws in there now for Liverpool. And we've seen before when sort of, you know, that becomes a problem. City, though, it is just nice to see City there, 3rd place, isn't it? 14 points, 14 played, 9, won 9, drawn 3, lost 2. And
that's big. They've dropped points in 5.
Nice to see that vulnerability in them, isn't it?
That is huge. They've dropped points in 5 out of 14 games. That's a lot for them, isn't it?
We've moved on to players now. From it being about teams. So George has thrown in Chicken Tikka Mo Salah. I've heard that one before. I think we might have mentioned that when we were talking about pies. Yeah. I still think, you know, for a pie at Home Bake, they've got a new pie, by the way. They've done a John Barnes pie, and it's like Jamaican jerk chicken flavour. I've yet to go in and try it. I just keep, you know, timings aren't quite right for me and stuff, but I'm definitely going to go in and have one, and I will report back. I heard from Dave, our mate, he's been in and had one, and he said it's quite hot. But I'm all right with that. But I think I still think that idea for the Dominic Saboz pie with a goulash flavoured pie.
I can't believe it's not been made yet.
It'd be beautiful, that. And goulash is nice as well, do you know what I mean?
Like a stew pie, wouldn't it? It's like a Hungarian stew.
Nice winter warm.
Be great for the winter, that.
Yeah. Their pies, I mean, someone says that pie sounds unreal. Their pies at Home Bake are unreal in general. Gary, my mate who I referenced before, next to me, because it was freezing, he was like, mate, I'm just going to go and get a pie here. Do you want one? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. So he comes back with the pies, like, and we were basically like using the pies as like hand warmers, you know what I mean? Yeah. But then when we eventually ate them, like, all right, but it was like, these aren't a patch on Home Baked. Like, for me, the pies in the ground should be Home Baked pies. You know, someone at the club should make that happen, because they're so much better, and they're on another level to them ones they have in there. We are coming towards the end of the show. Thank you to all who's jumped on. We've got 566 on at the minute watching live. Nice one for that. Nice one for all the messages. Nice one in general for just sort of tuning in week after week as well. You know, we took a bit of a flyer with this whole thing, really. You know, we didn't know whether it would work. We didn't know whether it would work on our own YouTube channel as well, which is a fairly recent thing. But you're still coming along, you're still watching. If you could click the subscribe button for the channel, that would be much appreciated, because that helps us, that helps with the algorithm, that helps our stuff get seen by more people. Equally with the like for this actual show, if you can click like on there as well, that helps in the same way. Obviously, commenting helps as well. So thanks to all of you who've been doing that. And if you've tuned in sort of late, it remains up there. Do you know what I mean? It's still on our channel. You can tune it. You can watch it in your own time. You can listen to it as a podcast as well. And if you just want to see more from us, we don't only do a Liverpool show. We also do a show about life, about wider football. We just literally recorded this week's Late Challenge. That'll be out there on Wednesday for free on the YouTube channel as a podcast. This week we talked about the idea of them bringing sin bins into football, the idea of there being even more VAR in football. We took the piss out of Man United a little bit. I gave an interesting fact about Bootle. What else was in there? Have I missed something? Oh, we talked about psychology in sport, didn't we? And mental health in sport.
Yeah. Ronnie O'Sullivan.
I gave a shout for Ronnie O'Sullivan's new film / documentary, which is brilliant. And then last of all, there is the Patreon as well, which is actually the place, as well as your what are they called? Super chats. The super chats are helping. That is a way that we can get some money back for all that is being forked out for the studio, etc. But also the Patreon is the big way that happens. So if you want to support us, go and sign up for the Patreon, get an extra show every week. You can sign up for as little as £4 a month. You can even get a free trial at the moment, so go and check that out as well. And yeah, they're still going in the comments, still offering up stuff about players and football clubs that sound like food.
Can we just leave it running? Just let them carry on chatting in there.
Yeah, just walk out.
And we'll come back.
Yeah.
Later on.
Just leave this on, lads. Yeah, let us know how it goes in the morning. I mean, some of them are so bad. You must know that they are yourself. Someone there saying he's on his half fellas account, but he's going to sub anyway. Love that kind of thing. Just click sub, click like. And like I say, if you really love us, get over to Patreon. That's been an hour from us on the Reds. We'll be here next Monday for another Live at 5. Keep on commenting, keep on liking, keep on sharing, and keep on enjoying the Reds. Here's to a big win at Sheffield United on Wednesday. Up the fucking Reds.